Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem, Nagaraku. Ladies and gentlemen, you may kindly take your seats. Yang Berhormat Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Yang Berhormat Datuk Sri Dr. Mujahid Yusof Rawa, the Minister in the Prime Minister's Department. Honorable Tan Sri Razali Ismail, Chairman of Suruhanjaya Hak Asasi Manusia Malaysia. Excellencies, Honorable Tan Sri, Datuk, distinguished speakers, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, and welcome to the Stand with Yemen Symposium and Photo Exhibition here at the International Institute of Islamic Civilization and Malay World in Kuala Lumpur. My name is Jasmine Zulkifli, and I will be your MC for today. Now, before we begin, the members of G25 Malaysia, the Stand with Yemen Coalition and Organizing Committee would like to pay tribute to our dear member and friend, Datuk Rezwan Kushairi, who sadly passed away yesterday afternoon. To honor him, I would like to invite Tan Sri Muhammad Sharif bin Muhammad Qasim, co-founder of G25 Malaysia, to the stage to say a few words.
Yang Berhormat Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Razali Ismail, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Dr. Zulkifli, Rector, University of Islam Malaysia, Excellencies, distinguished speakers, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Arwah Datuk Rezwan Kushairi was my friend and my colleague. He co-founded G25 with me and 23 others because he believed in a cause beyond race and religion, beyond politics and differences. He believed in the cause for humanity. An exemplary person in intellect and character. His warmth touched all those he met, wherever he went. And being a diplomat and holding many hats in companies and associations, his reach went far beyond the borders of his beloved home country. Anyone who has ever met him will tell you of his friendly nature, his openness, his passion, and most of all, his warmth and kindness. He worked until the very end, his last project being with this G25 Forum Symposium, a cause which he felt very deeply for, always reminding us of the other horrors happening in other parts of the world, always looking for ways to help. We laid a friend to rest yesterday, a patriot for his country and one whose presence will be deeply missed. I would like to request you that you join me now in a minute of silence in memory of Dato' Rizwan. Al-Fatiha.
Thank you, Tan Sri Sharif, for your kind words and speech. Ladies and gentlemen, the Stand with Yemen coalition was brought together by Dato' Dennis Ignatius, who unfortunately is not here today, at the end of last year out of serious concern for the humanitarian crisis taking place in Yemen. The coalition comprises of 10 different civil society organizations, namely Angkatan Belia Islam Malaysia, G25 Malaysia, the Global Peace Mission Malaysia, the International Movement for a Just World, the Islamic Renaissance Front, Persatuan Patriot Kebangsaan, Pertubuhan Ikram Malaysia, Sisters in Islam, Suruhanjaya Hak Asasi Manusia Malaysia, and the United Nations Association of Malaysia. Through this symposium, the coalition hopes to raise awareness of the conflict and humanitarian crisis, encourage the government of Malaysia to play a more active role in the search for peaceful settlement of the conflict, and to assist the suffering people of Yemen. We also hope to encourage Malaysians and other civil society groups to help raise funds for humanitarian assistance to Yemen. Now, without further ado, allow me to invite Emeritus Professor Tan Sri Dato' Zulkifli Abdul Razak, the Rector of the International Islamic University of Malaysia, for his welcoming remarks. Please, Tan Sri.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Yang berhormat Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah, Menteri Luar Malaysia, yang berbahagia Tan Sri Razali Ismail, Pengerusi Suruhanjaya Hak Asasi Manusia Suhakam, yang berhormat Datuk Mujahid Yusof Rawa, Menteri di Jabatan Perdana Menteri, tuan-tuan yang terutama, hadirin yang dihormati, Tan Sri, Datuk-datuk, para pembentang dan juga ahli panelis, ahli media, saudara-saudari yang dihormati sekalian. Saya terlebih dahulu bagi pihak Universiti bagi pihak IUM ingin mengucapkan selamat datang dan juga melafazkan syukur kepada Allah SWT kerana kita diberi keizinan untuk berjumpa pada hari ini dalam satu majlis yang saya kira amat penting bagi kita semua dan khususnya bagi Universiti Islam Antarabangsa. Honourable Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me first of all take this opportunity to welcome you and to also thank the Minister on behalf of the Prime Minister coming here to deliver the text of the Prime Minister. This is something that IUM is very proud to have, and we are also in the thinking of how to bring issues of this nature forward. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had another solidarity with the Palestinians, and indeed this time we are very happy and very honored to have another stand in or stand with Yemen, and we look forward to many other occasions of this nature to bring justice and also the cause for humanity across the world. So on that note, I would like to thank you once again for coming here, and particularly for the Honourable Minister to deliver the text of the Prime Minister, and we hope we will get together and make this occasion a meaningful one for humanity as a whole. On that note, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Tan Sri, for your passionate remarks. I now wish to invite Tan Sri Razali Ismail, Chairman of the Suruhanjaya Hak Asasi Manusia Malaysia, Suhakam, to the podium for his remarks.
Assalamu alaikum. Salam sejahtera. Good morning. Good morning. My good morning is on behalf of the people that have combined together to make this symposium. I would like to welcome you all in that context, and I would like to thank you all for the solidarity that you are displaying for Yemen. But first, I have to apologize that the Prime Minister, Honourable Prime Minister, is not here. Although we have two very outstanding ministers with us, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Mr. Mujahid. These ministers are people's ministers, always in touch and involved with the many things that people want to be done. So it's the right minister to be put here, but I think 20 ministers will not make up for the inability of the Prime Minister to come here. The Prime Minister has a huge constituency in the university campus, in academia. There are people from all walks of life, and there are people from other countries that are here who really would like to have a chance to say something to the Prime Minister. This is an institution that has embraced all nationalities, all values in the name of knowledge and Islam. And the Prime Minister's not being here, we have to do this again and make sure that the Prime Minister is here. The United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, sees the Yemen conflict as the world's worst humanitarian disaster. And it is in the fourth year, and it seems to continue mercilessly, inexorably. Even before this disaster, Yemen was already the poorest country in the Arabian Peninsula. And I would like to say that this is not a natural disaster. This is entirely man-made. A civil war of two parties that escalated and became a regional conflict, with regional parties taking sides at whatever cost for the victory of one side against the other, whatever. Out of the population of 28 million, 22.2 million are in need of humanitarian aid. 19 million lack clean water, 16.4 million healthcare, 14 million are at risk of famine. The number of children at risk is said to be about 5.2 million. The numbers continue to horrify people. 3 million and over have been displaced, and already 10,000 people have died. What is clear is that respect for human life and human dignity has been put aside entirely. A United Nations Rights Council mandated investigation conducted in 2018 found that all parties to the conflict, especially the Saudi Arabian coalition and the Yemeni government it backs, showed disregard for civilian life, possibly amounting to war crimes. The outcome report covering the period September 2014 to June 2018 identifies violations and abuses of international human rights law, international humanitarian law, and international criminal law committed by parties to the conflict, such as rape, ill treatment, torture, disappearances, deprivation of the right to life, and arbitrary detention. The coalition-backed forces and the Houthi Saleh forces went to the extent of enlisting children as young as 8 into armed forces and forced them or used them to participate actively in the hostilities. Permit me to ask, what are we doing here? And what is the reason why we are gathered here today? I think we have come together as partners in this symposium to give a voice to Yemen, to collectively call attention but the question can be asked in this dehumanized world, why should we care? Well, I'm trying to answer that, but I think in the context of being in the Human Rights Commission, I recognize that human rights cannot be cordoned or restricted to national boundaries in any way. The aspirations of people overcome boundaries, and as we will see in human rights, but we are on the way. It's still an uphill battle, but it is happening. This is an area of human rights recognition, and others do not. I mean, it's not possible. People are people. So, and we have a history in Malaysia of moving from one area to another, and we have a tradition. We are always on the side of the underdog, and we have been passionate about underdogs that have been taken advantage of. In that fashion, we have been passionate about Rohingyas, and we hang on this. We do not accept that national boundaries prevent us from saying anything about it or doing anything about it, and we say something is wrong in Rohingya area. So, and back in the 60s, if you remember, Malaysia was the country in the Commonwealth that worked hard to talk about the tyranny of the whites against the blacks in apartheid South Africa. And we were successful with others to push for the expulsion of South Africa at that time. I think Malaysians continue to be outraged by applications of force on minorities. Maybe it is our multiracial ethos that makes us to be as we are. We have allowed our home to be even uncomfortably. We have allowed our home, Malaysia, to be a refuge, an area for many nationalities to come and live and study. And this is going on even if some creature comforts of Malaysians are being sacrificed. But this is what we are, and we will continue to be in that fashion. So we do care, ladies and gentlemen, we do care. And we also ask questions. And we would like to ask questions why the Malaysian troops were sent to Yemen, to be in Saudi Arabia or near Yemen. And we want to know, we congratulate the Minister of Defense for bringing them back. But we want to know why they were there and whether in the operations there, they were part of the conflict that led to people dying or houses being destroyed or people in a state of deprivation. We want to know that. We hope the symposium here will take time to discuss this. Here we would have loved to have the Prime Minister here. And people can ask, where do we go? How do we prevent this kind of actions taken in a shroud of secrecy happening in among the Malaysian government before? So we may go as long as we may push this matter all the way up to the Parliament about what happened to that force that was there in Saudi Arabia to be involved in the conflict in Yemen. We cannot leave the questions unanswered. I think even in the context of foreign policy, it will feature in the determination of how we have done. Well, we just cannot forget that there was this very unhappy episode. Then the next and final point is what has happened to the whole structure of international response. Why has the international institution, the UN, allowed for these things to be inflicted on the Yemenis? And what has the UN tried to do in the last so many years? I am appalled that this has not happened. I am appalled at the terrible lack of action or ability to do action that the UN has has been experiencing. And I'm even more appalled that so much arms have been sold to the conflict. There is a register in the UN that naming countries that have sold millions and millions of dollars worth of weapons to the conflict in Yemen. It is possible to make known these numbers, these names, these countries, these companies that have been doing it. A lot of these companies come from the West. But here again, we should try to see whether we can embarrass these people from realizing how much they have contributed towards the killing of people. Today's symposium will benefit from all these considerations. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Tan Sri Razali, for your excellent speech. It gives me great pleasure to now invite Yang Berhormat Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, to give his keynote address.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang Berhormat Datuk Dr. Mujahid Yusof Rawa, Tan Sri Razali Ismail, Profesor Emeritus Tan Sri Dr. Zulkifli, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, tuan-tuan yang terutama, duta-duta, saudara dan saudari yang dihormati sekalian. Saya bersyukur kehadrat Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala kerana dapat sekali lagi berada dalam dewan ini. Lama dah tak masuk ke tempat ini. Antara lain saya masih ingat satu dialog. Bagi orang yang pernah datang, dia tahu dialog ini. Apabila satu soalan ditanyakan dari bawah, maka pensyarah itu, dan kalau saya guna dialog ini, tuan-tuan tahu siapa pensyarah yang saya maksudkan. Apabila dia kata, soalan saudara tidak sah. I'm I'm delighted to be in this hall again, and it has been a long time, and I was just quoting an anecdote, and for those who know, will know exactly what and who was there. During the Q&A, someone asked a question from the floor, and the lecturer, and you will know who the lecturer I'm referring to by, if you remember the dialogue. Because the question was asked from the floor, and the lecturer simply replied by saying, that is a wrong question, or the question is not tak sah. It's not legitimate. So for those of you who know this place will know who I am referring to. Sometimes you don't refer them by name, you refer them by the anecdotes, which is actually sometimes more important than mentioning names. Now, the Prime Minister is unable to be here. He thanked all of you for inviting him, but he has prepared the text of his speech and have asked me to read it on his behalf. But before that, allow me to say a few words as the Foreign Minister. I know you're not here to listen to me, but never mind. Like all of you, I too miss my old colleague, Allahyarham Ridwan Koshari. The last time I saw him was at the mortuary yesterday afternoon. Someone whom we know was always passionate about things that he believes in. And foreign policy and international issues are those things that are very close to him, and we all miss him. Now, talking about foreign policy, the new administration is committed to do more, to speak up, and to continue to speak up on issues pertaining to the Muslim Ummah and issues pertaining to the whole world. More often than not, when it comes to foreign policy, among others, we make decisions, and we make decisions in platforms where we are a member of. For example, the UN Security Council. We are not a member of the UN Security Council today, but as and when we become a member again, we do not want to simply attend meetings and make decisions and take a vote, but we want to co-sponsor more resolutions and, in fact, if possible, sponsor resolutions. Secondly, even if we are not in the UN Security Council, we should play an active role in trying to influence decisions in the UN Security Council through like-minded countries. Like, for example, in ASEAN, Indonesia is a member, and we are on the same page on many issues when it comes to ASEAN and so on, and I think this is what we are doing now. I'm not limiting to Indonesia, but we want to be equally participative in making decisions as if like we are a member of the UN Security Council. And thirdly, most of the time, when issues are brought to the table in the form of proposed resolution and so on, those issues are not new. They have been there for a decade or so, in the making. And we can no longer sit down and simply watch people debate the issue before they bring it to negotiation and before they bring it to resolutions and to making decisions. We should be able to preempt that these things are coming. And we should be proactive enough to participate in the debate and, if possible, to try and shape the debate. We will, of course, continue and, in fact, enhance our role in fighting for the oppressed, for the mustada'afin. We have not used this mustada'afin for a long, long time. I would encourage you guys to reuse this term. It has its own meaning. The oppressed, the mustada'afin. Dr. Chandra is very familiar with this, of course. Yeah. For, of course, the Palestinian, the plight of the Palestinian, Rohingya, and now Yemen. And we should really try and do more. And when we say we want to try and do more, the government should listen more and coordinate and collaborate more with the civil society. In many instances, the civil society are quite advanced and sometimes more advanced than government when it comes to certain issues. Sometimes you guys are the one who actually work on those issues. And when I say work, you actually work on it. You actually dirty your hand in doing some of those work overseas. And because of that, I think the way forward for the new administration is to have more engagement and consultation. And that is why one of the first things that I do when I came in as foreign minister is to establish a consultative council for foreign affairs, of which Ridwan is one of them. And we have been promoting the idea. We have proposed to Parliament that the Parliament should form a select committee on foreign affairs. And to Tan Sri Ghazali, I would very much like if some or at least one or two of the MPs would craft that kind of question. I mean, I'm sure we will enjoy listening to the answer as to why we were involved in Yemen at one time or the other in the previous administration. I will, of course, be ready to answer why we decided to pull out. And it is in this kind of tragedies that the current government wants to play a role even in bringing perpetrators to justice, among others through the ICC, the International Criminal Court, or the ICJ. But I sometimes have to be more measured in making pronouncement, but I can tell you that we are committed to do more, and we will be making a good announcement maybe after Semenyih. Don't ask me why it's after Semenyih. Now allow me to take this opportunity to read the speech by the Right Honourable Tun Dr. Mahathir, Prime Minister of Malaysia. Assalamualaikum and good morning. Firstly, I wish to thank the organizers for inviting me to attend and give a few words at this symposium. While the discussions is on the sad state of affairs of the Yemeni people, I am extremely happy that Suhakam and the Stand with Yemen coalition had taken the initiative to organize this. It is hoped that this initiative will bring to focus the crisis in Yemen, create awareness, and alongside help raise funds for humanitarian assistance, of which the Yemeni people are in dire need of. For me, witnessing such initiatives being carried out here is much more heartening as it gathers Malaysians from all faith and ethnic backgrounds coming together to contribute in this cause for humanity. I also understand that a team from Global Peace Mission, which is a member of the Stand with Yemen coalition, had just returned from their second mission to Yemen last night. Needless to say, Malaysians should be very proud of their commitment and passion to helping the suffering people of Yemen. Such efforts resonate with Malaysia's commitment to justice, compassion, peace, and humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, the war in Yemen is now entering its fourth year. The cost in human suffering is beyond imagination. Thousands of innocent civilians have been killed, while millions more have been displaced and adversely impacted by famine and disease. According to some estimates, more than 85,000 children may have died from the conflict, severe malnutrition and disease, between 2015 and 2018 alone. Entire generations of Yemenis are being destroyed before they even have a chance to live. With the country's medical infrastructure rendered inoperable and hospital staff overwhelmed without clean water and sanitation, disease now stalks an already vulnerable population. According to the World Health Organization, Yemen is now experiencing the world's largest outbreak of cholera in recent years, with 1.2 million cases reported since 2017. At the same time, more than 3 million Yemenis have been forced from their homes and now live in makeshift refugee camps or have fled to other countries, including Malaysia. Some 22 million Yemenis, or 2/3 of the population, are in desperate need of food, water, and shelter just to survive. They are barely hanging on. Many won't survive if the conflict continues. There can be no doubt that what we are witnessing today is an immense human tragedy. The statistics, as grim as they are, do not even begin to capture the reality of the pain, death, and destruction in Yemen today. The photo exhibition outside of this hall gives us but a small glimpse into the pain and the immense suffering that is unfolding there. Clearly, what is happening in Yemen is nothing short of a grave crime against humanity. It is to our great shame that all of us in the international community have allowed the suffering in Yemen to continue for so long. Ladies and gentlemen, what began as a civil war has now drawn in outside powers ready to fight to the last Yemeni child in order to advance their own agendas and ambitions. As usual, the merchants of death, i.e. the arms manufacturers and dealers, are quick to profit from the misery of war. Nations that style themselves as the bastion of democracy and human rights, the United States, Britain, and France in particular, have fueled the conflict in Yemen with billions of dollars in arms sales to the region, arms that are now being used to indiscriminately bomb, kill, or maim innocent civilians, including children. And they are doing this without any regard to international conventions or even to their own laws. Let's call a spade a spade. Countries that supply weapons that kill civilians or are used to target civilian locations like schools, hospitals, and homes are just as guilty of mass murder and crimes against humanity as the ones who pulled the trigger or dropped the bombs. It is utterly hypocritical to talk about human rights and democracy while participating in the mass murder of innocent civilians. Democracy and political stability in the Middle East cannot be promoted over the dead bodies of Yemenis, Syrians, Iraqis, and others, and it cannot be built upon the rubble of bombed-out cities. Cynics have every reason to conclude that all the talk about exporting democracy or building a new world order or even fighting terrorism is increasingly a false construct to cover naked aggression and dominate a resource-rich region. And if we are honest as well, we will have to acknowledge that all the billions that have been spent on weapons have nothing to improve the security and stability of the region. Indeed, the Middle East has experienced almost 2 decades of continuous war. Millions have been killed, wounded, or forced to flee from their homes. Whole cities have been laid waste and vital infrastructure destroyed. One has only to survey the landscape of much of Iraq, Libya, Syria, and now Yemen to see the grim reality of it all. All it has done is to diminish yet further the hope for freedom and prosperity that the long-suffering people of the Middle East yearn for. Destroying the hopes of millions of people in the Middle East for a better future is surely an atrocity in itself. And now, despite all the death and destruction they have wrought in the region, they appear to be beating the drums of war once again, this time against Iran. By unilaterally abrogating the 215 landmark nuclear accord, which Washington itself helped to broker, the US, abetted by Israel and others, is setting the stage for the next big Middle East war and the destruction of yet another Islamic country. And this despite the fact that the international community is in general agreement that Iran has honored the terms of the nuclear accord. Make no mistake, those who saw the wind will reap a whirlwind. Another war, if it comes to the Middle East, will plunge the region into such a cauldron of violence that it may never fully recover. Ladies and gentlemen, in the meantime, all America and its allies are doing by their interventionist policies is simply nurturing the next generation of terrorists, the next generation of disgruntled youth who have been stripped of their hope and their dignity. Beware of the consequences when hope dies, when entire nations are brutalized. In the last 3 years, the average Yemeni child has already witnessed 18,000 air raids. The psychological damage being inflicted on these children is incalculable. Add to that the disruption in education, the loss of parents, family and friends, the death of community, the desperation, the despair, and you have all the ingredients of a new generation without hope, angry and resentful at the world. And who can blame them? As well, Europe and the rest of the world had better be prepared to open the doors to the next great wave of migrants, refugees and boat people fleeing instability and war in the Middle East. In the end, all of us will have to pay the price for recklessness ambitions of a few. New reports also indicate that the sophisticated weaponry that America and others are supplying to the region are ending up in the wrong hands, the hands of yet more militias and tribal groups. Thanks to Western armaments, Middle East groups can continue fighting each other and threatening other nations for years to come. It is a vicious cycle. Western arms fuel local conflicts, which in turn provide the justification for further intervention. Is perpetual war going to be the fate of the Middle East? Is that the plan? For me, the big power rivalry and foreign interference that we see swirling around the Middle East is yet another reminder why we in Malaysia and ASEAN must be forever vigilant against big power involvement in our region. We are already beginning to see the seeds of confrontation and rivalry in our region. Lines are being drawn, bases are being built, armadas are being raided. The pressure is on to take sides. If we are not careful, the same fate that has befallen the Middle East can overtake us as well, with the same predictable consequences. We will be forced to buy ever-increasing amount of weapons from the big powers so that we can fight each other. Their profit will increase while our region becomes progressively impoverished and unstable. Malaysia will work with our friends in ASEAN to upgrade existing regional frameworks to ensure that we leave no room for big power intervention and to ensure that the growing rivalry between the United States and China does not lead to regional fractures. Malaysia has always put its hopes on non-alignment, on being open and friendly to all countries. We will not take sides in big power rivalries, and neither will we rely on military alliances or strategic partnerships. This policy has served Malaysia and ASEAN well through the most intense periods of big power rivalry in the past, and will continue to remain relevant as a regional security framework. Accordingly, we serve notice on all nations, both far and near, to respect our non-aligned posture and our independence and sovereignty. Don't expect us to join you against your rivals, and don't expect us to fight your wars. We will welcome all who come to help us build a stable, prosperous, open, and interconnected region. We will spurn all who come to dominate or divide our region into warring camps. It is also an important reminder to all of us that national unity is one of the foundations of national security. In Yemen, local differences were allowed to fester into civil war, which in turn was exploited by outside power for their own ends. While Malaysia is fortunate to have had a strong foundation of national unity, we must not take anything for granted. We must continue to work hard to overcome our racial and religious differences and build a strong and united nation that is respectful and tolerant of diversity and difference. That is the promise that the Pakistan Harapan government made to the people, and we will do our best to make it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, in the Middle East, this unity is at the heart of much of the instability we see today. Muslim countries have been all too quick to demonize and attack each other, instead of trying to resolve their differences peacefully as brothers and followers of a shared faith. Where is the sense of Islamic brotherhood, the sense of community as followers of the Prophet? What does it say of our commitment to the Ummah that some are even prepared to cooperate with Israel to destroy other Muslim nations? Have we no shame? Have we no honor? Is our hatred of fellow Muslims so complete that we are willing to align ourselves with those who plunder our lands and murder our people just to punish a brother nation? Is our enmity of fellow Muslims so deep that we are prepared to become a colony again in order to destroy a neighbor? In Yemen, it is Muslims who are killing other Muslims and committing atrocities and abuses against fellow Muslims. All sides in the conflict have been guilty of attacking civilians, of torture and abuse, and of using food as a weapon to intimidate and terrorize civilian populations. Again, I ask, when are we going to realize that war is not the answer to our problems? The war in Yemen, for example, has dragged on for over 3 years, and neither side can claim victory. All they can do is to claim a share of the death, destruction, and misery that has engulfed one of the world's poorest nations. When are we going to say enough is enough and seek peace? In the name of Islam, I urge all the parties to the conflict to stop this senseless destruction, this wanton murder of innocent men, women, and children. It's time that Muslim nations turn aside from war and start working to uplift the socio-economic well-being of our people. Today, Muslim countries have become synonymous with income inequalities, ignorance, unemployment, instability, and a lack of basic human rights and freedoms. Many Muslim governments are in fact waging war against their own people. Thousands are oppressed and denied their basic human rights. Like it or not, all Muslim leaders have a heavy responsibility before God to uphold the great traditions of our faith by serving our people, by respecting their rights and their dignity, by working for their economic empowerment and for peace and prosperity. We must set the example by championing respect and tolerance for all, regardless of ethnicity or religious background. We must make room in our societies for diversity and differences. At the international level, Malaysia calls upon all the Yemeni factions to the conflict to give peace a chance and allow the peace agreement worked out recently in Stockholm an opportunity to work. It's time for killing to stop. It's time to start rebuilding Yemen again. The highest priority must be given to immediately ending the fighting and the bombing so that civilians can receive emergency food assistance and medical attention. The people of Yemen deserve it. Our faith demands it. If both Yemeni factions to the conflict need time to regain trust and confidence in each other, they should consider immediately declaring the port city of Hodeidah an open city under temporary UN control so that a safe zone can be established and emergency set up to provide urgently needed humanitarian assistance. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for inviting me to this symposium. As a manifestation of Malaysia's continuous and unwavering support of efforts to address the critical humanitarian needs of the people of Yemen, Malaysia pledges to contribute $100,000 towards the humanitarian appeal for Yemen during the high-level pledging event for the humanitarian crisis in Yemen organized by the UN of the SG, which will be held in Geneva, Switzerland on 26 February 2019, where the foreign minister will be in attendance. That part of the sentence was an ad-lib, of course. I wish you every success in your endeavor to support the people of Yemen in their hour of great need, and I assure you of the government's commitment and support. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Yang Berhormat Datuk Saifuddin, for your very personal and honest speech, followed by your heartfelt keynote address. I would now like to invite Yang Berhormat Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah, accompanied by Tan Sri Razali Ismail and Tan Sri Zulkifli Abdul Razak, to launch the Stand with Yemen photo exhibition by way of a photo signing ceremony assisted by Ahmad Fahmi Muhammad Samsudin from Angkatan Belia Islam Malaysia. Lepas session, ya? Thank you, Yang Berhormat. I now wish to invite Yang Berhormat Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah, Tan Sri Razali Ismail, and Tan Sri Zulkifli Abdul Razak to take their seats as we will be playing a quick video of the Global Peace Mission Malaysia to Yemen very shortly. But before I begin, I would like to request that vehicles with license plate number VBS 5008, as well as vehicle with license plate VP 8227 to please move your vehicles as it is blocking the way. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the 25 photographs displayed in the photo exhibition were taken by Global Peace Mission Malaysia during their recent humanitarian mission to Yemen from the 10th to 22nd February this year. With a team of only 2 humanitarian officers from Global Peace Mission and 1 Bernama News Channel reporter, the team still managed to give aid in the form of food and kitchen supplies to 250 families around Aden and Sana'a, mattresses and blankets to 150 families in a refugee camp around Sana'a, and food to 100 children. Now allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to draw your attention to the 2 screens at the front of the hall for the short video of that mission.
Ini tahun kelima peperangan berlaku di Yaman. Jutaan rakyatnya kini berhadapan dengan 3 tragedi kerakusan manusia. Antaranya konflik bersenjata berat yang dahsyat, kebuluran serta penularan wabak taun, difteria dan yang terbaru H1N1. Rekod yang dicatatkan oleh World Humanitarian Organization WHO menunjukkan lebih 22 juta atau 75% penduduk Yaman ketika ini memerlukan bantuan kemanusiaan segera. Lebih 2 juta terpaksa melarikan diri dan kehilangan tempat tinggal. Lebih 16 juta daripada mereka tidak mendapat akses kepada bantuan perubatan dan air bersih. 11 juta kanak-kanak turut menjadi mangsa. 1.5 juta daripadanya berhadapan dengan masalah kekurangan zat, malah ada 400,000 kini sedang kritikal. 18 juta penduduk Yaman yang berhadapan dengan krisis makanan, dengan 8.4 juta daripada mereka tidak tahu bilakah hidangan makanan seterusnya akan dapat mereka nikmati. 1 juta kes taun dilaporkan pada Disember 2017 disebabkan oleh pengambilan air yang tidak bersih dan sehingga kini telah membunuh hampir 2,500 orang. Dilaporkan setiap 10 minit yang berlalu, seorang kanak-kanak meninggal dunia akibat kebuluran dan juga penyakit-penyakit lain yang tidak dapat dirawat dengan sempurna hanya kerana kekurangan fasiliti dan juga ubat-ubatan. Global Peace Mission Malaysia dengan penuh rasa tanggungjawab menyeru rakyat Malaysia untuk bersama-sama membantu rakyat Yaman melalui kempen Peduli Yaman. Sumbangan akan disalurkan dalam bentuk keperluan makanan bernutrisi, bekalan air bersih, keperluan kesihatan dan juga pendidikan. Justru RM1 juta diperlukan bagi menampung keperluan bantuan ini. Ayuh bersama Peduli Yaman dan menyumbang melalui Global Peace Mission Malaysia di butiran yang tertera.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the first half of our symposium. I'm now happy to invite Yang Berhormat Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah, Tan Sri Razali Ismail, and Tan Sri Zulkifli Abdul Razak, and all our guests here to adjourn to the banquet hall and enjoy a short break and refreshments, and thereafter to check out the photo exhibition which has been set up in the foyer. The second half of our event will begin after the tea break at 10:30 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Mana ushers?
Check 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Gambar?
Satu.
Gambar tu bagi. Kau orang hantar WhatsApp.
Check 1, 2.
Ha. Kamu muka je lah.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4.
Orang ada kat kita. Background biru belakang kalau boleh. Background biru ataupun putih. Putih macam ni boleh. Putih lah putih.
Ya ni. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2.